Hi and welcome back. So it's been a really busy week for 40th anniversary releases. I've spent so much money this week on some releases. So that's why this week we're going to do two videos. We're going to load up two videos this week because there's just been so many kind of good bits of vinyl coming out, and with it being the 40th anniversary, I didn't want to kind of miss the boat with that. The first one I'm going to talk about, I was a huge fan. So we're talking about LIMAHL. Now, those who don't know who LIMAHL is, LIMAHL was the lead singer for a band called Kajagoogoo, who had a massive hit with things like Too Shy. And I will be doing a video on their album, White Feathers, at some point in the future. But this was his debut solo album called Don't Suppose. Released on EMI in 1984. At the time this came out, I mean, he was huge. Kajagoogoo huge. I think at the time as well, they'd sacked him as the lead singer of Kajagoogoo, and he obviously went solo. So this album here didn't do brilliant, but originally when it came out, it did come out vinyl, did come out on cassette, and it wasn't released till 2012 on CD, which is kind of really late, but I can understand because it wasn't a huge album. A couple of singles off this were massive, and one of them we're going to talk about in a minute. So LIMAHL called this Don't Suppose, and it was an invitation to the listener to personally verify the value of his music without supposing, assuming, or guessing. Read into that what you will, but that was at the time, what the title was about. With the exception of Never Ending Story, which we're going to talk about in a second, because that wasn't originally on this vinyl. They did take off a track, which we're going to find out in a minute. I've got loads of information down here. So it was the Greenhouse Effect, but we'll talk about that in a second. So he composed the lyrics and music for the album himself. The original release was produced by Dee Harris and Tim Palmer. I'm going to show you Sleep in a minute because they've got like a big thank you on here as well. Previously, Tim Palmer had collaborated with Kajagoogoo, so he knew kind of LIMAHL and how he kind of worked from quite early on. So Never Ending Story, we can talk about that because at the time this came out, there was a track called The Greenhouse Effect that was on here. And they took that off and replaced it with Never Ending Story because Never Ending Story was a massive track with a soundtrack with Never Ending Story, which is produced by Marauder. I'd love to see some more tracks on this album being produced by Marauder because, I mean, that's just an insane track. And obviously of late, it's resurfaced again because of Stranger Things. Again, I'm going to do another video on soundtracks, and that will be in it. But they used Never Ending Story in that, and that kind of reignited the kind of the love of that song. And even now, I hear kids sometimes singing it. But it was a big track. They replaced that track with Never Ending Story, which kind of, I suppose, it boosted sales of the album, really. A couple of singles got released off here. I mean, you had Never Ending Story was a single, Only for Love. I think The Waiting Game was also. There was a couple of singles off here. It wasn't that many. Only for Love was a big hit, and that was it. That was a relatively big hit, and I think that was off the back of Never Ending Story. Again, the album was released twice. I said the original one with Greenhouse Effect, and again with the Never Ending Story soundtrack. That's probably the cheesiest thing he's ever done, but it's great. Lyrically, it's great. Musically, it's great. And of the time, everything's kind of very kind of synthesizer based, where he kind of went more kind of organic for this album with a few kind of hints of synthesizer in it. I mean, Never Ending Story is in the classic Marauder bass line. There's been many compilations over the years, and I think the last one that came out, The Best of LIMAHL, featured 8 of the tracks on this album. So realistically, it was the album with a few extra tracks on it. I was going to get it. I thought, well, I've already got that. I don't have the album on CD, but I've got this on vinyl, and I bought it again. Now, this is the 40th anniversary of this album. There's nothing really kind of different from it. I'm really glad they got the cover right, because a lot of the time when they do kind of reissues and stuff, the cover's not quite right. Like, we scanned it in from a really bad kind of copy. I've even seen reissues before where they have scanned in for a record sleeve, and you can see the little creases in the side because it's someone's collection. But this has been done really well. Again, it's just really simple, exactly the same. You've got the hype stick at the front saying the 40th anniversary. pressed on recycled lavender vinyl. Now, what recycled lavender vinyl means, I really don't know. Does it mean there's been other records that have come out on lavender vinyl and they've just put them all together, melted them all together and created this one? That sounds like recycled to me. It is quite a nice vinyl. I'm going to show you that in a second. Featuring the hit song Never Ending Story. But, you know, don't forget about Only for Love. I mean, that was a really good track, and it reminded me of really kind of like early on Kajagoogoo, who were just great at what they did, produced by Nick Rose as well. The back is just a really simple cover. Came out on Parlophone. You got the track title, so side A's got Don't Suppose, That Special Something, Your Love, Too Much Trouble, Never Ending Story. It's really weird how they kind of ended with Never Ending Story, but that should have been the #1 track. That was a big track for them, or for him. And then the B-side, you've got Only for Love, I Was a Fool, The Waiting Game, Tar Beach, and No Girl. You can see the price on that is 40 quid. But I'm going to show you some. The reason why I think that's a bit expensive, I'll show you why in a minute. So that's the outer sleeve. Now, the inner sleeve has not changed from the original either. You've got a great picture of LIMAHL with his fantastic haircut. And I've got to say, I did try and copy this at 11 years old. Got it quite right. The back end of it, sleeve, you've got all the lyrics. And I kind of read the lyrics for Never Ending Story to make sure I was singing the right lyrics, and I actually was. But lyrically, he's a good lyricist. I mean, I didn't realise, you know, you look at his lyrics, he can write lyrics, man. He can write lyrics. And all by himself, all words and music by LIMAHL. So he wrote this whole album, basically, with the help of the two producers. This side here, you've got a message from LIMAHL, thanking everyone that was kind of involved, especially the two producers. They also get a thank you list from Tim and Dee. So nothing's really changed on that. You know, I would like to see something else a little bit different. You know, it's nice to have the original album. You know, the only difference with this is the recycled lavender. So there we have it. The recycled lavender. It's a nice colour. But that's the only difference, really. I don't think it's been remastered again. It doesn't say so. It hasn't been remastered. It sounds good as it can be. But I just think it's one of them 40th anniversaries that I really wanted to get because it is a good album on recycled lavender. And that is LIMAHL, Don't Suppose, the 40th anniversary release. As I said, I'm going to do another more videos because there's so many 40th anniversaries coming out. And I had to get this when I seen this because the 11-year-old Kajagoogoo fanboy in me just absolutely loved this record. And Never Ending Story as well. So you can get a copy of this. If you want a slice of 1984, then get this album. Okay, LIMAHL, Don't Suppose.